It is a thrill for me to welcome each and every one of you to the mile-high city of Denver. What a great day this is for me, to have the $1 Million Roundtable annual meeting here in my home state of Colorado. And to be on this stage after that world-class introduction. Talk about a Rocky Mountain high. And look at me on that screen, riding in on a horse as president of this organization that I love so much. Imagine, just imagine what that felt like. Many of you will remember the theme of that meeting in Dallas in 1994 was Imagine. And I guess many of you think you can imagine what I was feeling up on that horse that day. Let me try to put you there. To begin to understand, you need to know that I am the son of a poor tenant farmer. For 8 years, I attended one-room country schools. We lived behind barbed wire fences on the outskirts of a small town. We had no electricity, no indoor plumbing, and no feelings of safety or security, and very little hope of escape. My father, who was always full of anger, very abusive both verbally and physically. And he never once told me that he loved me. In spite of this environment, my mother was able to instill in me some of her optimism and her belief that I could become a person of value. What a saint my mother was. When I crossed over the barbed wire fence at the farm to work at the adjacent golf course, as a caddy, I entered a completely different world. I saw two things that were new to me. I saw men who were successful, and I saw men who were kind. That was a powerful awakening for me. I felt like that big blue bear peeking in the window outside this convention center. At age 10, for me, life seemed black and white. I had two options. I could straddle a fence with one foot in the cornfield and a continued dark existence with the other foot on the green grass at the golf course and a new world of possibilities and hope. I chose to walk through my life on the green grass. My high school years gave me the opportunity, through sports, to gain my independence, focus on my own identity and self-worth, and dream of a future. With basketball scholarships, I did escape the negative existence of our farm life and the barbed wire enclosure. During college, I met and married Connie. The best person who ever entered my life. Connie took on the job my mother began, encouraging me to imagine and create an even better life. In 1959, 1 year after college graduation, I joined the life insurance business. It seemed ridiculous at the time. I had no previous selling experience, no business experience of any kind. Heck, I didn't even know why people bought life insurance. But one thing I did know for sure, the people in this business were the people I discovered at the golf course. They were successful and they were kind. and I was determined to be like them. During my first 6 months, I made 857 cold selling calls. And as you might guess, 832 said no. Been there? I would sometimes lose my courage to talk to the prospects while I was driving to the meeting I had planned. I would turn the car around, drive to a private country road, sit on the hood of the car, questioning my ability and struggling with my fears, too embarrassed to return to the office. That first 6 months, I hit a 7-week period where I made only 2 sales, a $5,000 policy and a $10,000 policy. And the $10,000 was declined. A really smart person might have given up at that point. I guess I was more stubborn than I was smart. I did not want to fail. I never felt I had the option to quit because I had never quit anything. I had no other choice. I had to succeed. Maybe, just maybe, I was lucky after all, because 25 of that 857 did buy policies. I wrote down my 3-year goals. For my 3rd year, my goal was membership in the $1 Million Roundtable. And in my 3rd year at age 26, I reached that goal. My first annual meeting was in 1963 aboard the Swedish ship the Kungsholm, sailing from New York City to Hamilton, Bermuda. I was one of 1,000 members in attendance. It was my first exposure to the giants of the industry, the legends that I had heard about during my 3-year apprenticeship. To me, they were rock stars. They were heroes. And they were talking to me. They were excited for me and seemed to care about my qualifying and my new membership, and they encouraged me to continue qualifying. It was the greatest mind-expanding experience of my life. When I left the ship and the members in New York City and flew back here to Colorado, my sights were raised, and I was absolutely certain that anything was possible. I made myself a promise that I would go home, get organized, learn and do whatever work it would take to qualify for MDRT, and never miss an annual meeting. I have kept that promise to myself ever since. My 5th annual meeting was in 1967 in Lucerne, Switzerland. It was MDRT's 40th anniversary. Just think, 40 years ago this month. And to add to the excitement of an international meeting, I was invited to make a main platform presentation sharing my methods of selling. The plans were all made to include Connie being there to hear me speak. Connie was pregnant then, as she always was. That ends 49 years. Her pregnancy prevented her from making the trip. We were both so excited about this event and so impressed with the members of the executive committee that we decided that if the baby was a boy, we would name him in honor of the MDRT first Vice President, Sadler Hayes. That September, our son was born, and we named him Sadler Hayes Blessman. The next year, the meeting was held in San Francisco, and Sadler Hayes was president. The executive committee invited my family to a party in their suite in honor of the president and his namesake, our son Sadler. What a thrill that was to be welcomed by these men that I so admired. To me, it was more proof of the goodness and the caring and sharing that MDRT brings to us all. I tell you all this to help you realize how important MDRT was to me in providing positive role models early in my career. As my career advanced, my MDRT relationships became lifelong friendships. Then in 1960, I got the call inviting me to serve on the executive committee. Can you imagine? Even though for the past 25 years, I had taken on every job that MDRT had offered. It was still a lot to take in. The farm boy who was still inside of me couldn't believe how far I had come. I was filled with tremendous enthusiasm and pride. In 1991, my son Brad, after finishing college, had joined me in the business, qualified for MDRT, and attended his first meeting. The pride we felt was so great it can't be expressed. And today my son Spencer is with me in the business here at the $1 Million Roundtable meeting. The next 3 years were demanding and rewarding. The learning curve went off the charts. The journey was about to take me to my year as president of the $1 Million Roundtable, the ultimate mountaintop. But the stage was not yet set. In late February, a little more than 3 months before I was to take the stage in Dallas, Connie and I were traveling in Australia for MDRT discharging our official duties. At the airport in Sydney, we were checking in for our next destination, a meeting in Israel, when we were paged for a phone call. The phone call was from home to notify us of a tragic event. Our son, the avid skier, golfer, and scuba diver, our son who loved everybody, our 26-year-old son, Sadler Hayes Blessman, had died in a tragic accident. Suddenly, we were plunged into the worst segment of our life's journey. At age 26, I was attending my first MDRT meeting, and my professional life was just beginning. At age 26, for my son, Sadler, his life was over. It was impossible to comprehend. The other members of the executive committee and the MDRT staff offered to step in and cover any and all of my responsibilities. The support was always there. I told them that I had to perform all of my scheduled responsibilities for the entire annual meeting, as it was the only option I could honorably accept. I felt I owed this important week of my MDRT journey to everyone in my life. My mother, then age 86, was planning on being in the front row at the Dallas Convention Center to hear her son deliver his presidential address. Connie and I took her shopping to buy her the perfect wardrobe for her trip. 1 week before she was to leave for the Dallas meeting, she suffered a stroke and died 2 hours later. Are you any closer now to imagining how I felt riding in on that horse that day in June of 1994? The strength required that day came to me because of you, because of your outpouring of understanding, support, and love when Connie and I needed it most, but also because of the 30 preceding years of sharing ideas, friendships, and support that helped me reach new heights, both professionally and personally. The same force that put me on that horse kept me from falling off that day. What power you have as family members, as role models, as friends. If you are a new MDRT member, I urge you to volunteer. If you are a well-seasoned veteran, I urge you to become a mentor to someone starting out. Volunteer or mentor, and I absolutely guarantee that what you give, you will get back in ways you can't even imagine. If you know someone who is grieving, show them you care. The excuse, I don't know what to say, is empty and wrong. Anything you say is far better than saying nothing. Just a hug is enough to improve someone's spirits. Please, today, I challenge each one of you, show someone you care the MDRT way. We all know that we can't read minds. If we cannot guess what someone is thinking, what makes us think we know what someone is feeling inside? Remember this. When you talk with your clients, with your friends, and with your family members. And finally, remember this. If a farm boy like me can make it to the top of the table and be elected as president of the $1 Million Round Table and speak to you from this main platform, then what is stopping each one of you from reaching new heights? Just imagine, just imagine.